right, welcome back, folks. Yeah, one of those things for this show that we are definitely breaking new ground, and mainly I give kudos to Sam and the rest of us guys from our podcast group for kind of pushing me to actually do this now. Talking about recent shows, and one of the recent shows we're talking about is Glow Wrestling. Kind of a, I was excited because I'm actually familiar with the actual like promotion from back in the day and stuff. And I was kind of shocked that they were actually doing a kind of Netflix show that was kind of, basically like a comedic version of what happened in the formation of this and such. I know they did a documentary prior to this that came out. It's actually pretty good. You should check it out. It's actually on Netflix as well. But anyways, joining me today, Sam, Anthony, and Crosby. You know all three of them. Two of them, we all geeked out over Black Panther. Anthony,
yes.
we geeked out over Black Panther. It was like, oh yeah, we're gonna talk about this for like 30 minutes, and then bam, 90 minutes of just So and clearly, folks loved it because that shit got downloaded out the ass. So I'm thankful for that.
I mean, it was the pimp. It was the pimp with the plate in his mouth.
Anthony, it's been a while since he's been on. I think the last time he was on was what, like. Shit. What was the last time you were on here?
I probably wasn't sober, so
Iron Fist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Iron Fist. Yeah, when we were talking about that show, which I like to account for the fact that I think a majority of people that downloaded the hell out of that episode was just waiting to hear us just really just go in on that show. And when I
think I blacked out a lot of it. What show?
Iron Fist. We were talking about Iron Fist and like.
Oh, you guys talked about it.
Yeah, it's just like
Marvel show I haven't rewatched. Like I've rewatched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've not rewatched Iron Fist.
I've watched bits and pieces
I get mad
of
when
it just for
it.
shits and giggles, but
Wow,
but
that's amazing.
So we're here to talk about Glow Wrestling. Glow Wrestling, for those that don't know, it was a promotion that started in the late '80s. And it was created by David McLean. And the purpose of it was kind of like WWF, as it was back then before it became WWE. And a lot of the other promotions, they weren't really pushing women to the forefront as legit wrestlers. For the most part, a lot of women were kind of relegated to just, oh, you're just the, eye candy, so to speak. And they decided, hey, maybe we can actually do this thing where we do a promotion with women as the wrestlers and such. And at first they kind of wanted to push them as like a novelty act, and McLean actually pushed back against that because he actually wanted to get women who were athletes and from different walks of life to do this as the men, and stuff, and really pushed them to the forefront. And that's how we got Glow Wrestling as we come to know it. Now, if you're familiar, well, a lot of wrestlers that were in Glow, the only one that I know that actually moved on and kind of gotten prominence and stuff was Ivory. If you ever watch wrestling and stuff, she was one of the ones. She's like a 3-time women's champ in WWE. She was actually one of the early wrestlers inside the Glow promotion and stuff. So, So I guess this kind of ties into, and also Mando Guerrero. He was the one that actually initially trained the women before. And if Mando Guerrero, he's actually related to Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero and that whole Guerrero wrestling family and stuff.
Yeah.
Before they actually switched off and they got Cynthia Peretti, who is actually Princess Jasmine. That's who he was. She was, and she ended up also training the girls afterwards. So basically, this all kind of culminates to us talking about the Glow Wrestling TV show, which is basically a surface level representation of what formed the Glow Wrestling stuff, with some comedy elements added to the mix and all the dramatics and stuff. So I know a lot of people think, oh, did all this really happen? Well, take away the drama of some of the characters and stuff. For the most part, this is basically how it did form for the most part. So, I guess I can start off with, what was your guys' initial reaction to this show, I guess? Starting with, Sam.
I mean, it's really weird for me because initially everybody was kind of like talking about glow, 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 and I saw a commercial and I was like, "Is this some kind of random parody?" And then I realized, I remember seeing like the documentary. It was like in 2012. It was like the story of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, and I was like, "Wow, this is about the same exact story, but taking the characters out of context, but still keeping it." And so when I started watching it, I was watching it actually with my wife, and I was like, "Honey, let's check this out." And I looked at the first episode, and by the first episode, I was just hooked. Like it was weird though because I was like, I know where this is gonna go, but like just watching this train wreck kind of unravel and watching all the different characters get their moments of kind of having like brief story arcs. I was like, this show has a lot of potential. By the end of the 10th episode, I was like, they can really do a lot with this progressively. But I had a really good time with it. I thought they did a really good job with the specific characters. Some of the dark humor was really off kilter, but it was really funny and edgy. But it was just really weird, man. Like I don't know how to really explain it. But I really enjoyed it. And not just that, a little background for me. Like I remember all WCW, WWF before it became WWE, and like I loved wrestling. That was one of the things I shared actually with my grandfather. And for me, like wrestling is close to home, and so like when I sat there and was watching this, I was like, "This is dope. This is actually really dope. I actually really enjoyed it."
All right, what about you, Crosby?
All right, so I haven't seen the documentary. My buddy Vito said to go watch the documentary, and then after I watched the show, because I watched the show first, and I was like, oh wait, there's a whole documentary about this, so I'm gonna go catch that later. So I'm sitting down like watching the show, just as a show, not as someone who's watched the documentary then coming into this. So I really enjoyed it. I thought some of the stuff was like over the top, but then it looked like a parody. It looked like from and a couple people have said it's like a what if, it's like a nice parody of an actual show. So I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm sitting there enjoying, the drama and some of the the cast is enjoyable. Like, not even Betty, Machu Picchu, whatever her actual name is, not her wrestling name. Like she actually had some kind of development that I really enjoyed. Like apparently she's legacy, and she never got to actually wrestle before, and so you saw her have an anxiety attack when she actually stepped into the ring for the first time. It was like 10 people in the crowd, and she almost died. And I certainly enjoyed like what's her name? The other lead, not Betty, the actual lead. I
Ruth.
enjoyed her character.
Allison.
Yeah, Ruth.
Yeah.
I enjoyed her character and her growth through the process and what wrestling did for her. It's like it she grew up, and it's like, oh, it was kind of fun to watch. And
yeah, cool. Well, what about you, Anthony?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I was
So So I watched the documentary dropped like a couple days before the actual show did, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I had seen it like elsewhere and stuff, but yeah.
Oh, that's the first time I saw it was on Netflix. So I saw that, and it brought back memories. Like I remembered it, but I didn't remember it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I remember WWE and the Hulk Hogan stuff like that days, and I don't know. It got me really excited and I looked up old things like the rap I remembered and things like that, but I had forgotten about it.
Yeah.
The show itself, I felt like there was so much to mine there with all these characters, and the drama aspect. Watching the documentary, it seems like they mined from some of the drama, like the guy coming in just naming people, like you're jailbait and you're this and you're that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think there's a lot to go there. I think you get any group of people that, related or not related, into one small confined area, you're gonna find drama. There's probably lots of stories to tell. And I think that I was really pleasantly not surprised, but I kind of have a lot more respect for is it Allison Brie?
Yeah, Allison Brie.
Yeah, because, of course, I probably fetishize it like everybody else from Community. Was like, but what I kind of feel though is that when I look at her range of work, I'm glad she has a medium now to be something different than what people could have stereotyped her as, and I think she did a really good job. And they also, I think they're doing a really good job of showing how, like for a while in literature, you have the whore and the good girl, or this stereotype and that stereotype, and showing how the 80s, like, you probably couldn't get away with a lot of that stuff now.
Oh, hell no,
like,
man.
Seeing them deal with it, like the welfare mom and stuff like that. I don't know. I think there's a lot you can do there, and I think the '80s are really ripe to be explored in mind for their different perspectives.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things, like, what was wilding me out, and maybe it's also because, I watch wrestling and stuff. There were a lot of people online like, man, this stuff was racist. I don't know what. I was like, dog, it was the 80s in wrestling. Trust me, we have come a long way. But back then, yeah, you be hard-pressed to find a person that was non-white that didn't get the shit end of the stick when it comes to how they were portrayed in the wrestling rink. I mean,
yes,
we had people like,
yeah.
I mean, we had Junkyard Dog. That was like, as most you're gonna, that was like fucked up, but it's just like
Iron Sheik.
I mean, Iron Sheik.
Everybody was a stereotype.
Everybody was a stereotype, and I mean,
especially where they came from too.
Yeah,
like,
I mean. And that transitioned over to, I mean, that was the 80s. We complain about G.I. Joe and Transformers, but like all those characters were stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like it was just that time. It's easy to formulate the opinion about who they are. It's easy to get Go Cheer America, but there was an art to it. And I thought I might be offended, like especially about the welfare mom, but they gave her a chance to talk about her son, what her son was doing. I know that was to like, hey, look, we're doing this, but
yeah.
She isn't, and then show her charisma. Like I don't know. I appreciate that aspect.
Yeah,
I would hate for it to
when
be
she
fake.
brought her son up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, but like the thing of it is, it's like if you weren't watching wrestling, I could understand how it would come across as kind of like a shock on the fact that you're seeing all these biases. Like I said, we grew up with Iron Sheik and stuff like that. And Iron Sheik, he ran that gimmick and keeps going to this day with it and stuff. And like I said, he embraced it. He embraced it and stuff. Tony Atlas didn't really have much of a racial gimmick and stuff, but he did deal with a lot of racist bullshit during the time that he was wrestling during the 80s and stuff like that. So that was a thing. I mean, you even see that with one of the characters. I think it was a Cherry. She was dealing with that, the racial aspect of wrestling, but she kind of was just like Tony Atlas, where it's like, okay, this is a thing. Fuck it. It is what it is. What can you do at this very moment other than say something and just keep it moving and stuff?
Yeah, Sherry, that was my favorite character. I mean, she handled it well, but it was like you could tell in her facial expressions and her reactions when she would, when they gave her persona, her name, and she's like,
Jump Chain, really?
And it's like,
yeah,
and where welfare mom or welfare queen kind of like almost took it in stride. The only thing she had a problem with was her mom. Was a kid.
Yeah.
Watching it and seeing her. Sherry didn't even want anything to do with it in the first place. At first, she had to be coerced into it, and that was kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, even her, was it Sheila? Jenny being the fortune cookie. Arthur.
She was Cambodian.
Fortune cookie.
Yeah, Arthur.
Maybe like me being called Rice Krispie treat.
Basically, I mean, Arthur, she's the freaking was it Beirut, the mad bomber?
And Beirut, man, that was crazy.
And he was like, all right, give her the gun. And he was like, really? Give her the gun? Okay. Fine, and also just the aspect of Ruth playing the, Russian to Debbie's, like, Captain America, Liberty Bell.
Captain America, yeah.
The Liberty Bell thing. So it's just
she played that role up though. Like her character, it was weird because everybody just seemed to not like her, but it was like you could tell like she overdid it, and then there were moments where I was like, man, I really feel for her. Like specifically the scene towards the end when she got pregnant, I was like, yo, like,
that was
oh
heavy.
My gosh, like, and then when she went to the hospital with Sam, that was the moment where I was like, all right, Sam might be about something. Like, he's a cokehead. He's kind of crazy. He's really rude.
It has a daughter. It has a daughter that he almost fucked.
He legit actually is a good character too. Like,
we all got that friend. We wouldn't, play cards with or leave money out with. but there's one good strand of decency in them. At least I got it.
Yeah.
All right. So,
but I was gonna say is that this and the documentary had me, and I don't know much about the women's wrestling side of it in the 90s and the early 2000s, but I had a lot of respect for the women being the stars of the show. And it's one thing to be exploited by other people, but you're exploiting yourself That's a
Yeah.
Oh, they embraced
big
it.
difference.
They embraced that shit hardcore. It was like, well, it's kind of like you're owning your identity, basically. It's like, yeah, we're being exploited, but fuck it. We know we're being exploited, so we own our own identity. Fuck it. Hey,
Yeah.
I might be the welfare, I'm going on the show. Hey, I know I'm the welfare queen, but hey, I'm the one that's embracing the gimmick here. I'm just going to go with this and stuff like that and see how this goes. This is all entertainment. Hey,
Yeah.
people come to see us. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I also like
mean,
how
they
they
really
were trying
don't.
to make her the heel, and she was like, but they're rooting for her. I'm the good guy. And it was like, that natural charisma. Reminded me of something like how The Rock or Stone Cold, you'd be like, yeah, I mean, I still like him. I mean, that was messed up, but,
Yeah. But I mean, it goes by what you're saying, Anthony. Like in the 90s and 2000s, like I said, it was slowly getting better a little bit. But, to me, at least personally, just watching wrestling over the years, especially for women, even when we get to the Attitude Era and stuff, yeah, women were wrestling, but it was still kind of like, oh, hey, we're just there for the bra and panties matches and stuff like that. There was
pretty much
that was going there, and it wasn't until we got like the Litas and the Trish Stratuses, the Molly Hollies and stuff, and they really started kind of moving away from those kind of matches to where the women were actually legit wrestling, which is basically, you might as well say, once it hits the 2000s eras and stuff, that's when women wrestling actually, like, oh, these women deserve respect. Like, they're actually wrestling just like us. I mean, even China, I would say probably.
I was about to say.
Yeah, China and all that stuff. That's when it was like, I mean, China actually won the Intercontinental belt. First woman to actually win the Intercontinental belt. That's crazy.
But she was still but I guess they're all gimmicks. So I was going to say she was still like a gimmick. You know what I mean? Like,
But she can wrestle, though. That's the thing. Even
True.
though if you could say she's a
I believe
gimmick,
China
she can wrestle.
started in the gimmick era. Like she came up in that era, and she came into WW. Was it E or F at the time?
It was WWF,
When-
like early
WWF.
Attitude.
Yeah.
It was WWF. She was in that. She was in that era. So
Oh,
it's
that's right. 'Cause
impossible-
she was with Triple H at that time.
Yeah, so she had to carry
Forgot
that
about
gimmick.
that.
And I believe she carried her gimmick into the WWF so that when she got bigger, sometimes you can't escape the person you are. It's almost impossible. So, I mean, I do feel bad for her and what she had to deal with, but she was still a wrestler. She's still, in my opinion, one of the premier female, was one of the premier female wrestlers, RIP. But yeah, like, definitely China. But quick question before we continue.
Yeah.
I want to ask this. I've always thought about this. Is Roddy Piper, is he like a legit asshole, or is that just a shtick?
That is his shtick. He's actually probably one of the nicest people.
So that's who he is.
He is a nice person and stuff. I mean, you've heard stories from other wrestlers and stuff about he might got into it, but that's like typical stories that you hear from any wrestlers and stuff that, oh man, he was beefing with this person for a short time and then they end up burying in the hatch and stuff. So Roddy Piper was always a chill person. So
because he just seemed like he never turned it off. Like you'd see him on TMZ or like on TV, like just chilling, and he just seemed like he never turned it off.
Oh yeah, he was always, that was his thing. He always had that intense personality and stuff, but he was always a chill person when everything was said and done and stuff. So but I can see how that is and stuff, because it is kind of like, okay, dude, chill. Like Ric Flair, whether he's on TV or off, he's always that woo party guy.
Paid his bills. It paid his bills and put food in his belly.
Oh yeah, easily.
Still paying bills right now.
So before we get fully into this, all right. So there were actually a lot of cameos from lots of wrestlers from different WWE, former WWE and actual active wrestlers. Actually, homegirl that plays Welfare Queen, that is Karma, aka Awesome Kong. She's actually in there.
Yeah.
You got John Morrison. Oh, go ahead.
I thought Jenny, what's her name, Fortune Cookie, isn't she a wrestler?
No.
Or wasn't she?
I don't believe she was.
Oh.
I can see how you.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Who you say?
So,
Fortune
Fortune
Cookie.
Cookie.
Oh, okay.
Disclaimer: all Asians don't look alike.
No, that's the chick from Scott Pilgrim. That was Knives Child from Scott Pilgrim.
That's
My bad.
What is she from?
Yeah, Knives Child from
Knives
Child from Scott Pilgrim.
So definitely, I know.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Welfare Queen is definitely a wrestler.
Oh yeah, Karma is a legit wrestler. She entered the Royal Rumble. She wrestled in TNA. She's been around and stuff. So, it's kudos to her and stuff. John Morrison, He's a former WWE wrestler and stuff. I'm pretty sure you guys seen him. He was in the fight that he played Casey Jones and versus Kick-Ass and stuff. He was Casey Jones in that.
Was he?
Yeah, that was John Morrison.
Nice.
Pretty, I actually liked him as a wrestler and stuff like that. I thought he was pretty good. You got Brodus Clay and Carlito. They played Carmen's brothers. Both of them are former WWE wrestlers. I think Brodus might be in TNA still. I don't know what Carlito's doing.
I think Carlito's done.
Joey Ryan, a.k.a., he played Mr. Monopoly. That dude still wrestles, and he's just as ridiculous as he is in this show. His wife, that plays Crystal. That's his real-life wife, Laura James.
Wow.
Alex Riley, I believe, I don't know if he's in NXT or he might be on the Indies. He's actually the one that plays Steel Horse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's an actual wrestler. Brooke Hogan, she's in it. She's the club manager. Was it Amber?
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was.
I didn't even notice her.
When they want to go price drop, get the money or find out how much that little venue costs.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I recognize her. I was like, that looks like Hulk Hogan's daughter.
Yeah.
Tell me, who was the dude that was training them in the beginning? Sam, whatever his name was.
Yeah, that was John Morrison.
Oh, all right. Because I
Yeah.
recognized him. I was like, all right, you look from that.
Yeah. That was John Morrison and stuff before they switched off and they got somebody else and stuff. So, but yeah, that's. I kind of figured this show was gonna throw in cameos, but I was kind of curious to see who they were gonna get. So I was actually pretty happy that they did that. And obviously they had all the little archive footage of former wrestlers, Hulk Hogan and stuff like that. I think they had Gorgeous George as part of it too. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this show, I gotta admit, I was really on the tip of like Ruth is going to be the annoying character throughout this whole show. I don't know if it was just me. I mean, did y'all think that way?
I was torn whether she was going to be the annoying character of the show. I think what really broke me from thinking that is her opening monologue from the show. And then I think the way that they ended the first episode, I was like, this is just who she is, and like she's gonna go through this journey with us, kind of situation. So at a certain point, I was kind of like, is she gonna be really annoying? Is everybody kind of platforming her to be annoying, or is she really annoying? I found out she wasn't. I actually really enjoyed her character, surprisingly. But
I think it was only because of like her messing around with homegirl's husband and stuff. I was like, okay, this is going to be one of those things where she's going to sit here the whole show and be apologizing every 5 minutes, and it's like,
I thought homegirl was annoying.
I mean, that was her best friend,
I know, but still,
that twist.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I can't really blame Ruth so much that the husband just was an ain't shit dude anyway. So
he won't.
But can we talk about that twist though? Because in episode 1, you just see the dude climbing the window and it's like, go back to your family. And then in episode 2, she grabs the keys out of her purse and they show them. I was like, get the. I didn't see that. I have to admit, I didn't see that coming.
I didn't see it coming, but I thought I should have. I was like, yeah.
Same.
Cool.
I was just like, I should have saw that, but this kind of like, you know how you go on your hunch, like, oh, it's going to go this way, and you're like, well, I don't know, maybe the show's smarter not to go on. Oh, okay, they did it.
Yeah.
Another thing I liked. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Because I was thinking it was, the casting director or the casting agent. I thought they were going to get back at her by having Ruth fuck her husband.
That would have actually been an interesting twist if they did do that.
I liked Ruth. She was supposed to be the annoying character at first because she was out of her element. But I liked that speech she gave with the monologue, and they were like, oh, and that's the guy's part, and then went to her part, and I was like, oh, that's such a great way to set up the atmosphere of what's going on in this decade. And then I like that she's a very beautiful woman, but I like how I feel like they dulled down her looks with lighting and makeup and stuff like that.
They did.
I think they had to match the
I really
era.
like that. Huh?
I want to say they had to kind of like match the era, because like, well, we can't have you looking too ridiculously good, so let's tone it down.
But I feel like some of the other women that were supposed to look beautiful, their lighting was different. I mean, I could be wrong, But to me, I mean, she looks. I mean, you've seen her everything else, and she's a really gorgeous woman. And they, I don't know, this everything they look. They made sure that wasn't the selling point of her.
Yeah,
and that she was just a real person. I like that. You know, I don't know. So many things I liked about this from a social justice warrior stance of. They showed her being a real person. It was like, I mean, it showed a slut shaming versus reality. You know what I mean? It was such a great thing.
Well, that was the greatest thing to me about the show is that they didn't like shy away from like the bullshit the women had to go through in the 80s, period. Like just regardless of your color, you were still going through the residual bullshit, whether it was the subtle racism or the sexism, the overt sexism that the show had.
And I love how they use that to their advantage. Like during the, I love when people use stereotypes to their advantage. Like when they were doing the fundraiser, like I just left crack. I love that stuff. That's a good show. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, but how about when Jenny was speaking Chinese or whatever language she was speaking? Maybe she was speaking Cambodian. I don't even know. But she had to say crack in it. I think that was the funniest part of the whole thing. I actually laughed hard as shit. She's like, she's speaking Chinese and then she breaks off and says crack and then goes right back into it.
Can I ask you something about production? Because I was watching a documentary and of course I don't remember all the women's names that were in the show, but did they have to change some of their names because the wrestlers back then owned their names?
You said did all what?
Like some of the characters were seemed like they were meant to represent the real women's glow, right? But some of their names were just changed.
Yeah, all those different people, all their names were completely different. Like I don't think they went off on any of the specific names from the actual original people. But it's like if you go and you look at the documentary, you can tell, oh, this is who this character was kind of supposed to be. But then they kind of like mesh two different other characters together as well. But I mean, like you said, Anthony, one of the things is the aesthetic of just the look of this show. Like when they actually were in costume, or they had those in the first episode when Sam was tripping out from having like his blow trip, and he was sitting there watching them like go at it in the ring. I was sitting there looking at the video. I was like, this looks dope. I was like, if they get to that level towards the end, they already won me. But from the props and from the way they actually looked, like I was like, they really went for it. You know what I'm saying? Like they could have really dulled this down or made it over the top from a studio production, but I think that they did a perfect job with every way they looked at this and the way they filmed it as well.
Oh, especially if you've never been to like indie wrestling that's inside of a high school gym. No bullshit. That first time when they were in front of an audience, that's how a fucking high school wrestling thing. If you've been to an indie, like I ain't talking like Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor gets like a lot of people, but you're talking like you go to a high school like auditorium and they got a wrestling ring in there and there's like 20 people tops. Steel chairs just sprung around the ring and you're just like, oh my god, yeah. They captured that perfectly. They could have easily like, oh, you know what, we're gonna really just beef up the production. Like, no, we're gonna keep it like how this is how it is. We got to show the subtle production to where, like you said, Sam, when you get to the end of the show, you saw, oh, this is where the money went. They had to show this like all out. Okay, this is what we're doing. This is what we're about and stuff. So I thought that was actually just seeing that slow progression to that point.
But I think it worked because you saw the struggle too, like the struggle of getting to the gymnasium to the theater hall or whatever.
Oh, that was real, man. I mean, hell, that, and again, that's something else that you rarely see with shows when they do something like this. Is showing that these characters are struggling to get money. Money doesn't just appear out of thin air and they're just doing it. It's like you're literally seeing, you're literally seeing Mark Maron's character. He's like, okay, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to pay these girls? And he's promising Cherry.
Let's do a car wash. And we magically get the money.
And we don't get the money. It's like, that was like, that was some real life shit. It's like, you were not going to get that. And, he's like, all these girls, they're also working their day jobs. That's another thing people don't realize, too. They think, oh, if you're wrestling, you're made. No, you working wrestling, unless you're in a big promotion and stuff. I thought you might be working your day job.
But what the show didn't do, though, was show them outside, like working outside of wrestling. Like they were in that motel for the most of it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and I
No,
think
but
you
I
only.
felt the struggle for money though. Like I felt like some of them had to do this because they needed the money.
Oh yeah, I think.
Yeah, like the English girl, she was sleeping in her car. Remember when they moved to the motel? She was sleeping in her car. Britannica, whatever her name is. Yeah, and was it Sam's daughter? Yo, that shoot. And I don't even know. You know what? Let me talk about Ruth for a quick second.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how I felt about her. When Sam said to her, "I don't know what it is about you. I mean, 1 minute you're like, man, you look good, and the next it's just like, ugh." From that point on, I started looking at her weird. I just couldn't figure it out, like Sam didn't. Like Sam said, sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay, that's a really nice shot of her, and then sometimes I'm like, oh man, like, is this the best they could do? I'm pretty sure outside of it, she's a very pretty girl, but they did really well to like keep her aesthetically down so they could have Betty just look as gorgeous as possible.
I mean, Debbie was a soap star, so it made sense. Like, she is this like woman that's coming from being this like. Was she former soap star? Because I was kind of confused on that. Former soap star.
Like I think she got fired because she got a baby. I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
But she was less attractive. You know what it is? I think she was supposed to be the what we consider TV atypical beautiful, especially back then. And and I think that it's kind of surprising how to me she was probably one of the least attractive person to me, and it could have been because she acted her part, but it was I don't know. I think like you said, I think they did a great job with that.
I think for some reason that with Ruth and with Debbie, they acted that way. Like there was something about Debbie that her self-esteem held her back from being really fully beautiful. Like she wasn't self-assured into like her fulfillment, and she definitely was not happy. She was always either drinking or just down on herself, or saying that she was okay when she really wasn't.
Oh yeah.
And then when you think about Ruth, like her eyes like were just off kilter weird. Like the mannerisms, the way that she did stuff, the way that she was just getting all method and theater. Like I know that that's just performance acting. Both of those women, to me, I think they acted to make it feel that way because
they had to bounce off each other and stuff. Because it's one of those things where it's like, because I mean, and that was another thing too I like about Ruth and Sam's relationship. Not Ruth and Sam. Ruth and Debbie's relationship is the fact that even by the end of the show, Debbie was still kind of like, okay, I don't hate you anymore, but we're not on that level to where we can actually have a drink together.
Yeah.
Hey, like Penn and Teller said, the key to world peace is money. When your money's on the line and that's your job, you got to work together.
Yeah. So they're they're kind of like, okay, I'm not mad at you, but at the same time, fuck you.
I like that they did that though, because as opposed to like most other, I don't really want to name any productions, but most other, most Hollywood will have them like get back together at the end of it. Oh, we're cool again,
It's basically
I love you, and we hug and we're cool again.
Yeah.
But that's real.
We're not there yet. That was powerful.
Yeah, they're kind of cool, but they're not there yet. They're not gonna hug it out, immediately after that. You still fuck my husband. So.
Well, I like that too, because Ruth really was like, "Oh man, we put on this great show, so you want to drink?" And she's like, yeah, slow it down.
Yeah,
slow it down.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but with Ruth's character, I felt so. In a way, Debbie being as beautiful as she is, and Ruth just being who she was, I felt sorry for both of them. Maybe it's the way their characterization is, but I felt sorry for Ruth in a different way. In like, not with like her being an asshole, just because she just couldn't get it right at all. And I think she finally found something, and even in that, certain things were going wrong for her, because when she found out she was pregnant, that was heavy. Now for Debbie, I felt sorry for her because she has to deal with, oh my God, my life is, my perfect life, or what I thought was perfect, is falling apart. And now not only that my life is falling apart, the person who actually caused my life to fall apart, I have to work with you every day, or I have to see you. So
that's a big pill.
Yeah, it's like, you don't want to see the person. Yeah, so she, you remember when she was an asshole looking for, someone to her heal?
Yeah.
And every one of us, you and I, was watching the show. We already know, like, her perfect heal will be Ruth. but she didn't want to see Ruth. She didn't want Ruth to be a heel because it's like, I don't like you. I actually hate you. So I might actually try to hurt you if we do this thing for real. But you know what? I'm not even trying to come down to your level. I just don't want to see you, period. You know? And she had to be an asshole because she couldn't find anyone else who was perfect for her because she was a star and she had been built up. It was just weird. Like, at some point I didn't like her because she, you know, just because they built her up and off nothing. You know, Sherry's there wrestling her butt off. Everyone is there, like, you know, doing all these things, and in comes the pretty girl, and already, you know, you getting all of it, or the pretty white girl in Sherry's eyes is you're already getting all of it.
Yeah,
I think that, and again, I like those different perspectives because again, we don't know. Like, I don't know what struggle Sam is having right now. Sam doesn't know what struggles Chris is having right. It's hard to do that perspective sometimes. So you have Debbie coming in, everybody's like, oh, she gets this hit of the pack thing just for being who she is, but secretly she's crumbling inside and she feels like she has no power. And then you have who was the her husband was the referee, cool guy was the referee,
Sherry.
Oh yeah,
Sherry's
Cherry's husband. Yeah,
who's like, I'm working my butt off. I'm probably the most talented person here. Well, not the most talented, but I'm one of the most talented people here. And I'm held back just because of my race. And I think that's what they were getting at. And you know,
I mean, she came from an era. I like that her character. She's a stunt woman, which already back then and stuff. And we actually we recorded a stunt panel from BlurredCon this past weekend and kind of touched on this and stuff. But like, especially being a black stunt woman, that's tough. Just because you're coming out of the racism. Which still happens to this day and stuff, especially for black women and stuff. Black people, period, in the stunt world, but just black women get it the worst.
And for a character,
oh yeah, and just also, she's coming from that blaxploitation era where there was just movies out the ass, and then, it's the 80s and nobody gives two shits about blaxploitation anymore.
Right, and when they mentioned that her and Sam and her husband had like a threesome or something or whatever. I didn't get the feeling that the threesome was because of her trying to get a part or anything. I just thought they probably were getting high or drinking or whatever.
Well, didn't Sam say as much like, oh man, it was the 70s, it was drugs.
Right.
Yeah, he did.
And so she didn't do it for a part. But the minute it came out, somebody used it against her. Like, not even like 10 minutes went by before somebody used it against her.
Yeah.
The Britannica girl could sleep with him. And I don't think anybody said anything except for the daughter. Like, that was for other reasons.
Nobody said anything. But the thing about her character specifically is when they started going about the abortion situation, or not the abortion, but the miscarriage. Yeah. And I was like, in my head, I was like, did she have a miscarriage when they had a threesome? And this is why this is a sour area. This is how they have this connection. Because I could tell her and Sam, there was something more there. I didn't want to play into it, but they acted it so well and they scripted it well enough that I was like, there's this window of time that something else happened. And this is a sour area coming to this girl when it comes to this miscarriage. And that's why they're flying again. But I'm like, what did Sam really do? Like, what was the dynamics of their relationship? Because it wasn't about a part. Yeah. It was more than and I assumed that this is going to carry over into the second season. That's one thing I like about this show. Each character has enough depth that there's a progression that can happen in the second season, even more so.
And this was 10 episodes. That's the crazy part. Like,
right? I felt it was too short.
And I mean, and the thing is, like,
perfect.
And the thing about with Cherry that
I wanted more. That's what I mean. Oh yeah, I wanted more. That's all. Oh yeah, I was greedy.
Trust me, I wanted more too. But like the thing that I liked about Cherry is that despite us, like I said, I'm with Sam too. I was like, man, what happened between her and Sam? It didn't cut into the fact that Cherry and her husband actually have a good relationship.
A loving, healthy relationship. That was great. And he didn't seem jealous at all. Like, I love that. And he was probably the best male character, like, as far as stability and mental health. He was probably the best male character they showed. And
the most level-headed one, to be honest.
Yeah. But Sam said, when Sam said something like, I haven't talked to you since the miscarriage. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Well done.
I mean,
and because I was thinking, like, some couples, when they do stuff like that, it's already predetermined that if something happens like that, the baby belongs to the couple. and I was wondering if that was what was going on, or like, I don't know. It was a lot of stuff.
I like to assume that's what it was, but I guess
but it's not. It's still a good little teaser. I liked it either way.
Yeah. Carmen, she was another one that I thought was interesting because we've seen this before in different movies where you have the son or daughter that are trying to live up to that legacy. But the difference is that Carmen's dad, who was the wrestler Goliath Jackson, he doesn't want her to be a wrestler. He wants her to kind of basically be the prototypical woman that is the homemaker, and the husband does all the work and blah, blah, blah. But Carmen's like, yo, I want to do this. And really, the funny thing is, the cool thing is, out of all the women there, she has the most experience for the most part.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure she's messing around with her brothers or her, in the.
They imply as much that her and her brothers, they did certain things and stuff with the wrestling moves and things like that. So she knows, like you said, she knows a little something and stuff. But I thought it was interesting how, like, you're thinking, because in my back of my head, I'm like, oh, well, if that's her only roadblock, Carmen's really going to be the blowout of this whole group. And then you come to find out, oh, she has stage fright.
Yes.
Can I tell you?
That was a good twist. Go ahead.
You know what I kind of fixated on? There was a robot, right?
Yeah, there was.
And in Rocky, there was a robot, right? Where the hell's my robot? It's 2017. How come I got a robot passing me beers? Where is this at? And I want to know, where did we skip? Did y'all have a robot?
Somewhere after Rocky 4, robots just disappeared.
I think for a good reason, because they saw Terminator and they were like, nah, it's good. We're good.
Oh, man.
Sorry, go ahead. But yeah, Monty Pichu, she was great. I love seeing her brothers do real wrestling, and
well, they were teaching.
Like I don't know, and I love the dynamic with her and her husband. I love that they put a legacy character in there, and and that she had to overcome the stereotypes in a wrestling family. That was amazing to me.
Yeah. Melrose.
Oh, I hated her.
Actually, I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny when Cherry put her ass in a sleeper hold, and I was like, "Oh, there you go. She's down. She's down for the count. You deserve it."
She got Cherry back. She got Cherry back with the whole miscarriage thing. I thought Cherry was gonna beat her ass. I'm like, you have to beat her ass right now. I mean, because she was the one that was in the bathroom when she and Sam were talking, and Sam had said baby goo or whatever. I was like, Sam was just a rude, like, he just said whatever he wanted to say out his mouth. Like, he didn't give a shit. Like, damn, it's crazy because I don't think he would talk to a dude like that, except the dude was Bash. But he, like, really talked out his ass a lot. Jenny I liked. Not Jenny, the wolf girl, whatever. Sheila?
Yeah, Sheila.
Now, with her character, I believe we're going to get some type of, maybe in season 2 we're going to get more into her character. Because you remember, I think, was episode 3 or 4, the beginning of it, when you see her actually, like, get into that wolf character. So it's like, that is who she is.
Yeah.
And she
doesn't break kayfabe, essentially. So she just stays in character the whole time, like...
The whole time.
Which probably ties into what you were saying about Roddy Piper, in the sense that I think Roddy kind of sort of did keep that persona even outside of wrestling, but also knew when to turn it off when it had to. Yeah.
But she's not turning it off. She's legitimately a wolf, going to sleep and waking up. I mean, it was... and then you can see later on she started to embrace more of the persona that we're giving her, because you're already a wolf, or you dress like a wolf, so why don't we just call you a werewolf or the she-wolf? Because at first she thought that was insulting, but like as the show progressed, she started coming out, because I'm thinking it was something where, growing up for her, if this is something she's always dealt with, this animal side of her, or this, like my spirit animal is a wolf type, like there are people that talk like that. This is what she's always dealt with. No one ever really accepted her. But you remember on Jenny and her had a really dope episode where Jenny threw her that surprise surprise party. Yeah. And she came out of her shell that night, and Jenny kind of like they told us something about Jenny where she's like, they never had birthdays where she's from. So she like, this is something that is important to her. You know, as someone that you're my friend. So this is something I got to do for you. And even when she didn't, blow out her candle on the cake, Jenny was kind of like blown about it. But after a while, it's like, that's just who she is, and this is who you are. So we accept you for who you are. Right. How about Beirut? She's like maybe the smartest one there. Yeah. Easily the smartest one there.
Yeah, what's funny? She's smart. What's funny? I think Beirut. I think Arthi. That's the chick. Arthi and Jenny. I think those two didn't really get much deep characterizations like some of the other ones did, but they got just enough.
Yes.
So hopefully, second season we get to know them a little bit more and such.
Yeah, because at the end, I think on the last episode after her fight with Britannica, when they went they went back into the dressing room, and someone goes, and she goes, "They hated me out there." And Britannica's like, "Oh yeah, I mean that's good, right? But I mean, maybe to the to the studio who's buying this show, yes, but what about her? What about her self-esteem? Like, what is that going to do for her?" So I want what I'm looking forward to. I don't think if we can do this yet, but what I'm looking forward to for her in the second season is how is this going to affect her moving forward?
Oh yeah, she seemed kind of really upset on the fact that, oh my God, they really hate me this bad. And it's like, well, it's your gimmick. What do you think?
Like they were throwing things in the ring. Like, yo, it was getting dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
It was legitimately getting dangerous in there.
I think it's also one. She was an actress, and I think when you play a character and you're didn't the kid that played Joffrey say he needed to break a little bit because of the kind of responses he was getting?
Oh, I mean, dude, look at all the memes and all that stuff that was happening. It's like, yeah.
Right. So people throw that, even if you're an actor. I mean, especially it can take a toll. But when you're not an actor, having that much negative feeling coming at you and you're in the center of a ring, I'm sure if you're not prepared for that, that can affect you. But also how dangerous it is. Like, they didn't hate your character; they hated you. Like, that's a whole different realization.
Yeah. The worst part about it is, with all the stuff that was going on, especially like 2 days or a couple days before they wrestled, they had this, on the, they were watching the news, and there was this whole terrorist thing with the plane. And now it's like, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so they're going to tone her act down, or they're probably going to cut her out the lineup. No, they went full on with it, full force. Even when Bash was announcing her in, he said what they said about her, and I was like, they're going for this. So it just makes me look at the wrestling that I loved back in the day. Like I thought about the Iron Sheik. I'm like, is this probably what he had to deal with? Like, just even on an off day, like when he was walking around the street, he's probably American. Like, is this what he has to deal with?
But also, let's be honest, if they can get away with putting KKK members on TV, they would have done it. So I mean,
yes, you're right. This was the time. There was nothing. There was no such thing as political correctness. So yeah, they would do it.
Oh yeah,
again. I think it's probably just sitting down today watching it. In today's world, watching it. Like you said, I believe you were saying some people were watching and like, oh my God, could they do this? It's like sitting down today watching it. You're like, crap, this was shit back in the day.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But we ate it up. Like, I ate it up. You ate it up. Like,
we all saw Sergeant Slaughter beefing with freaking Iron Sheik. Like, yo, fuck that terrorist motherfucker, and all that stuff.
Exactly. We ate it up. Like, what are you talking about? Like, with his big American flag, he was probably, like, racist. Like, who cares? But, watching the show is like, I mean, even JBL, watching JBL do whatever JBL does, like, at the time, like, this was probably hardcore. But, yo.
Yeah.
You know what? So anytime I see somebody famous, and I'm like, oh, please don't be a racist. Please don't be a racist. Like, all right, John Wayne, I can accept a couple of these things. Just don't go too far. But I remember thinking that I really loved Stone Cold. And I was like, oh, I hope he's not a racist. I'm just going to have to accept that. Until they did that Punk episode where they had some guys say some racist stuff to him. And he was like, you better walk away from me right now. And I was like, oh, yes. I felt so happy
Oh, I can understand that. I mean, Stone Cold is from like Texas stuff. I mean, it's funny. He has that intensity. I mean, look at the damn Expendables movie where he was like really racist towards those Hispanic people and stuff down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But then look at his comments about gay marriage when he was like, you know, telling people you don't have the right to tell anybody what they can do. Who are you to tell somebody they can't get into heaven or whatever because they, you know, like. So again. That's me giving a stereotype because it's easier for humans to process stuff if we narrow them down to what we expect. So it's, you know, it still goes on.
Yeah, I mean that's the writing. I mean, kudos to the writing even today and stuff. Where writing today is like you can't. I mean, because even now, you know, you can lean into it a little bit, but not too much because
not too much.
The dude that's
unless you're Quentin Tarantino and don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, because right now, the SmackDown champion is Jinder Mahal, and he's like of Indian descent, and they're playing it up a bit on the whole, you know, you Americans and blah blah, but they're not going full tilt, you know, like terrorists angle and stuff. He's just a dude that's just like, oh, you Americans, you know, you think that you're so pompous, blah 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 blah. And I was like, okay, I can buy into that because there are people that really feel that, you know, which truthfully enough, we Americans are arrogant and we have this thing about us, especially in this era of Trump, you know, and things like that. So I can lean into that and stuff. But if this was the '80s, oh, Jinder Mahal will be on some Iron Sheik, like, oh, I fuck this dude
level,
shit up.
Like what? You remember when Rusev started?
Oh yeah. Rusev was on Russia.
He was on the height of exactly. And then I think people, political correctness started kicking in, and people were like, "Yo, he's super toned now from when he first came in."
Yeah, but I mean, it worked. You know,
it worked then.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, but I think that's also because they were kind of like, all right, we can only run this for so long and stuff, so let's go with this, you know. But I see what you're saying. It is kind of like. They did kind of like, okay, Rusev, where are you going with this? I mean, he's still a heel. He's still a bad guy and stuff. But, yeah, they went full tilt like, oh.
Yeah, he's not that. I mean, you know, the worst part about it was when so I'm watching Ruth, right? Yeah. And then I'm thinking about Lana, Rusev's girlfriend or wife.
Yeah.
You remember when she first came out with Rusev? She had this Russian accent.
Perfect.
And then I find out that she's American.
You didn't know that? I picked up on it. I was like, there's no way this chick is freaking American. I mean,
no, I didn't. No, not immediately. So I find out later because I think, you know, because I still watch WWE Studios movies, right?
Oh, okay.
And there was this movie with her and I think The Edge.
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking
about. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, have you seen that mind-blown meme or the GIF? Yeah. Where literally, you know, John C. Reilly is just like mind blown.
Yeah,
that was me. Like I'm sitting there, like, no, she's American. I almost said this, and this is really ignorant. I was like, she speaks American, but like, you know, it's nothing like that. You know, so I was watching Ruth, and I was like, so these are, you know, maybe some of these people are. We still have actors in the game, but now you have actors acting athletes, where these guys are actually like. Acting or taking acting classes to be wrestlers. You know, you don't just have dumb athletes anymore. You have like people who are actually taking acting classes so they can get into these roles. Like it shows you you appreciate the depth of what some of these wrestlers do nowadays, and you also appreciate what they did back then. That's what the show has, as you know, it's you know, there's a new appreciation for the craft, and you know, it's not just people. It's not just people throwing their bodies left and right. You have, you know, there's more into it.
I think Batista is a good example of that because while he's still not, I wouldn't consider him a good or great actor. You could tell he's working. You know, he's working and taking it serious. To me, when I see him and stuff now from when he started, and directors know how to use them. The one thing about the stereotype thing we were talking about, is I really liked when they took the motel owner or whatever, and he went to the party for his son's circumcision or his nephew or something circumcision. And again, like I feel like they were popping stereotypes about what somebody coming from Russia would be like, or these different things. And I don't know. It was really great because I think the more we get characters like these that aren't just stereotypes or making fun of these stereotypes, it makes it less plausible to just make them a nameless Russian accent or a nameless turban guy. And again, like right now, there's like maybe two people you can have like do anything you want to in American movies. That's Nazis, because you can do anything you want to a Nazi and not care. Like Inglourious Bastard, the guy was like, "What are you going to do? I'm gonna burn this uniform and go to my mom." And he's like, "Yeah, we're still gonna mark a swastika in your forehead." You did not feel a thing. You ain't feel sorry for him because he's a Nazi. And right now, if you say terrorist to most of America, they're gonna like, I don't know, they hate America. I don't care. Yeah. And I think one of the things media can do, and Netflix is doing that in spades, like Sense8, like these Netflix shows, next to superhero shows, are showing these different perspectives of different characters. It's showing them as people and not just stereotypes. And I think this show is a really good opportunity to make fun of those stereotypes and like, aren't you silly for thinking that we all do this or we all do that or everybody's one dimensional? So I like that part.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, to add to your point, when Ruth went to the party with the front desk guy from the motel, and we found out that they're Jewish Russian Jews. Mm-hmm. I was actually like pleasantly, you said, these people aren't what you expect or you think, at the time the average Russian was, so it just kind of put a face to like, even though people hear Russia or hear the Soviet and you just see this big bad guy, there are actually people that live there that are just trying to get by, or there are people who are from there who are Russian who aren't, like that moment put a face to like a part of Russia or like some people from Russia that's you kind of like, okay, maybe it's not all bad, or maybe there is the big bad, but there are also like regular people living there too who just want to get by. I mean, when they were giving the guy his circumcision, it's like, oh, we can't do it there because over there you can't do stuff like that. Here in America we can do it, even though it's grown, we can still do it. So it's like it shine like this show is, to be honest, it's more than just the wrestling. The wrestling is a major part of it, but it's more than it. There's a lot of deep, like thought-provoking stuff in the show.
Yeah,
and I go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna say that all the different characters have a lot of, how do I put it? It's unseen depth. Like, you have to really kind of focus on them to see the depth in them. Like, I'll take the character Bash, right? Bash is the person that's kind of the front person that, he was trying to get money from his mom. He was trying to get support. He came up with the idea conceptually, but he hired Sam to be the director. And I think that they modeled that after the guy, what was his name? David McLean?
Yeah.
That was the original, creator and founder. And I think they kind of switched roles with the way his character worked dynamically with Bash, because Bash is more of a kind of a caricature. But individually in this show, like, there's a lot that I don't know about Bash. Like, when he was interacting with, the more heavyset, like, wrestler and really empathetic to her and, trying to calm her down and help her, and he kissed her. Even when she was, like, freaking out in the ring, he had her back. But it was weird, though, because there were certain things I just didn't know about him. Like, his random butler, I was like, is that his boyfriend? Or is that really his butler? Like, I legit, don't know, because they left it up for interpretation of the way that they do each one of these characters. I'm just giving an example of him, because, like, there's certain different levels to his character that we haven't found out yet. And I think that that's genius from a marketing standpoint for Netflix to do that in the first season. Like, I don't need to know everything about Bash, but I can tell that Bash has different layers to him. Bash can't be trusted necessarily, but he internally is a good person. And, if he wasn't a part of this, Sam would probably flatline it with his own ideas, or he would kind of crash under it. So
because he could have been that standard 80s mountaintop snow villain with that jacket and
exactly hair. And that's what I thought he was going to be, but he ended up not being that. They needed him.
Because he was like, he didn't say, hey, wait, you're wasting my money in there. You got to get back in there. And he saw she was having a panic attack. He was like, oh, crap, you're having an issue right now.
Exactly.
Let me help you. Or when he kissed her, not that she shouldn't be kissed, but like, he was empathetic to what was going on with her situation and what she wanted. I felt like that kiss wasn't for him; it was for her.
It was.
You know what I mean? And as far as the butler goes, I'm pretty sure Prince had butlers that didn't know if they were dating them or butlering them or what. So it all mattered. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I like they put that androgynous.
What I think about that butler, I'm sorry.
No. I really didn't have a point. I was just talking.
Yeah, what I think about the butler, I think that's like to be honest, that's the guy who, to me, comes up with the ideas, or who came up with the idea. And Bash, being who Bash is, just took it. It's because it was like it was during that party when they went to his house for the party, and his butler alluded to something where, I come up with a lot of ideas or something, and they just brushed over it really quick because they have to get back to Sam, and him arguing. I think his butler has a lot more to do with what we're seeing than what's being led on. But Sam is right. Bash did have more character depth than just being a party guy who wanted to see women, throw themselves around. Like, I honestly think, too, that's where he came from with the idea. He just wanted to see women, like, fight each other. Yeah. Maybe like a weird fetish form or something.
I mean, the thing that
I think it went beyond that.
I mean, the thing that I like, the thing I was liking about with the thing with Bash was like when he made that deal with his mom, and you see the ladies go there, and even though they're supposed to be faking as though they were former drug addicts crack addicts and stuff, you could tell that there was also a bit of truth to how those women felt about wrestling.
Yeah.
And it was especially with Ruth. Ruth really was just like throwing her emotions out there on how she was feeling and stuff. And that's why I liked it's just that culmination of all these episodes, and you get to that moment where all of them are really just putting their emotions out there. I'm like, yo, I love wrestling. I love what this did for us and stuff. We came together. I'm enjoying it. It did this for me. It did that for me. And da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like, okay, this is actually pretty cool, And, I mean, it's funny, too. I did not know that was, what's-her-face from Big.
Who?
Elizabeth, what's-her-face?
Mother?
No, not the mother, but the chick that Tom Hanks messing around with in that movie. That was her that played Bash's mom.
That was the only stereotype they didn't break.
Oh, yeah.
That was just the rich wasp thing.
What
is that what you call them? Like,
what was that chick's name?
The rich wasp or rich elite white people stereotype. They didn't break that for his mom or anything like that.
Oh yeah. I mean,
but I love how, and I didn't get this until they said it. When Sam was talking about like his erotic time traveling adventure, I was like, "Wow, they made that!" And the dude was like, "They already made that." And I was
Barbarella.
Like, he's like, "Back to the Future." It was funny. He's like, "They made a movie where a guy goes back and wants to screw his mom." He's like, "Yeah."
That was hilarious. That cracked me up.
I forgot that this takes place like in '87, so Back to the Future 1 already had came out. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But it's real though. Like there's so many directors and different people that had all these ideas that they've been working on for years, and then all of a sudden somebody just drops it like a dime, and it's like it doesn't matter what you thought about. Like if you didn't create it, you didn't create it first, so it doesn't matter. But nah, man, it's crazy.
Elizabeth Perkins, that's her name. Yeah, yeah. So, but shout outs to the hairdressers that were also wrestling, and they came out there in the KKK uniforms, outfits. I thought that was just all sorts of awesome. I was like, okay, all right, I'm fine with this.
Right.
Like, did you see the look on Sam's face and then the actual TV producer's face when all that happened? He was like, wow, like this is actually happening. And it was a dope idea to run with it, but it also made it was kind of great to see how Sherry and Welfare Queen, how like they just like those women were just dumb, and it's like they just took advantage of them and said we're gonna do this. And wow, I couldn't believe they went there with it. As soon as those masks came on, I was like, fuck.
And they were like, they weren't supposed to show my face. They weren't supposed to show my face.
I was like, we're legitimately watching this, but it worked. I mean, it they ended up being killed, and to the black girls being.
Because bear in mind too, they were playing old ladies, old biddies.
Yes.
Throughout the whole.
And they were characters too on Glow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. Like. It's just great. Like, it shows the whole gimmick of wrestling. Like, like, it's not just a gimmick. A lot goes into creating your character, and a lot goes into it. Like, think about Eddie Guerrero. I'm sorry, R.I.P. Eddie Guerrero, when he first came out, when he first started, and to like when he grew and he started getting bigger, and then he would come out with these cars every day, and John Bradshaw was his heel, to where John Bradshaw would say would say these outlandish things, and we're thinking about it like, yo, it's funny or it's fun because Eddie's gonna beat him up, and the good guy's gonna win. But if you actually dissect it and cut it up and open it up, it's like, wow, like this is. Like, did we really just eat this up?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole lie, cheating, steal stuff with Eddie. I mean, yeah. I mean, just that.
Yeah, and then John Bradshaw was like the all-American cowboy from Texas, and like he had this one gimmick, I think, where he's like, I'll go to the border and I'll stop your cousins from coming in, and I was like, yeah, this is happening.
Yeah.
And then you think about it now, it's like that was crazy, but a lot went into creating that that character, those characters, and who was going to be the heel and who was going to be the good guy. And it's like you're watching it happen because as wrestling fans, we see the end product. Mm-hmm. What Glow showed us, or what the Netflix show showed us, was the behind the scenes.
Oh yeah,
was what went how it all went through. Like,
I mean, the writing
right now,
the writing and just everything. I mean, even to the point that like Sam actually used that that whole issue with what's her face using the fake, like the ketchup.
Yeah.
Sam literally was like, I got an idea, and he managed to come up with like a storyline for Ruth and Melrose, like an actual like we got a storyline here, and we base it off of this like joke and stuff, and it's like, okay, yeah. I mean, not to say that that's what they do now, but that's the whole process of like trying to come up with an entertaining storyline, of trying to like get people like invested in your character and stuff. So I thought that was actually pretty cool.
And it showed how much the wrestlers put into their characters. Like, this wasn't, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you come up with a character and we'll integrate them, but it has to work.
Yeah,
I think we don't give enough credit to them for coming up with a character. It's like if somebody said, hey, you're going to be this and you're going to be this. Like, no, come up with a character. Show me what you got.
They had to own their characters. They had to own everything about them. And, like, to own dissatisfaction at some points. But they really embraced them. A random thing that I just found out, the girl, Sindel Noel, that played Cherry Banks, she's actually going to be in Black Panther. They got every black person in the world.
Like, if you are black,
like they got the dude from Get Out. They got. I just heard that Felicia Rashad's gonna be in that joint. I don't even know who she's playing.
I don't know. I think we'll see what happens. I mean,
so they got like, if you're black and you're kind of famous, you're in it. Like, I'm pretty sure if Idris Elba wasn't in Dark Tower, he'd probably be in it. They'd probably find a way, like, as soon as Dark Tower, we got to do some reshoots. Idris, you trying to like show face for a quick second, like just a quick second.
Or either John.
Like, we're an Asgardian here. Yeah. I'm just here. Bro.
I mean, what's funny? Now, what I like about this show, and this is something that Sam brought up, and this is wrestling, is the idea that you have Welfare Queen coming in there and taking the Glow crown from Debbie and stuff. And Sam said it best. Hey, we gotta keep people interested in this.
Yeah.
And that's wrestling. It's like you can't just rest on your laurels and be like, okay, Debbie, she's the good guy, she won. It's like, no, you have to get a twist in there to get people to keep coming back and watching this.
Exactly.
And that's what you have to do.
Showmanship.
Yeah, that's
what that was amazing, because that's another twist. The show had a couple twists for me where I didn't see things coming. I didn't think, because Sam wasn't present, I didn't think he was going to have any influence into what happened with the final show. And then that happened, and I was like, I appreciated that, because I was like, okay, so at some point, Sam decided this is my show, and I'm going to, like, because I also think that's what it is, because Ruth had taken over and had, streamlined the show so it worked, because you had, for the final fight, they had the tag team, and then it, changed into singles, and then, out of nowhere, Betty decided to show up. But, like, I think Sam had seen it and was like, okay, I still have to, and this is how I see it. I thought Sam saw it and was like, I still have to show that I am, I'm the boss, Yeah, and so he went down and he asserted, and I think that's what he did. In my opinion, that's what he did. He had to assert that he was in charge.
I think he was proud of him. I think he was proud of how she put it together. I
don't
didn't
know. He was. He looked proud of her, but I think he also still had to because
there's a reason why I'm here.
Yeah, because to be honest, he should have just let the show finish the way the show was supposed to finish, because that was what they had practiced. Either that, or maybe like before everything else, he had said, okay, this is what is going to happen. He had talked to what's her name and said, this is what's going to happen, because they had a moment that one time when she talked to him. It was like, what if my kid sees this? So maybe like after all of that, they had talked about what was going to happen for her character, and I thought that was a big thing that he did for her. Because again, welfare queen. People. Back in the day, even now today, people who are on welfare, looked at as a way. I mean, you heard Bash when he was announcing her. Oh, the American. She's wasting the tax dollars, and even in her fight, she pulled out like these welfare dollars and was smacking the checks and was smack like her gimmick was kind of hard to watch.
But it was because, again, like we know, the average person on welfare doesn't look like her. So if you look at statistics, it doesn't work that way. But I thought it was interesting. I was thinking about her character, and I was thinking about the documentary, because again, I was trying to parallel these a lot. And there was one where they had said that they weren't allowed to use their real names. They had to use their wrestling names even when they weren't performing. And I was like, I can't imagine working for like a year or 2 years, and your name is Welfare Bob, like that's your name. Your name is Ashy Larry. It was like a Chappelle show. They call him Ashy Larry.
You can't break the kayfabe or anything like that. And it's just that was the thing too, was, and this is a kind of a story here, like the I think it was Iron Sheik. Oh, Iron Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Now in ring, they're supposed to be beefing. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, he's the American hero. Iron Sheik, he's the bad heel terrorist and stuff. And wrestlers travel together, of course. And back then, you're driving around together and stuff. Nobody's really paying attention, but apparently they drove together, and some fans saw them hanging out together, coming out their car, going in the hotel together and stuff, and that fucked up some things. And I guess from what I remember, Vince and them were a bit pissed off, just not so much at them, but just the fact that it happened, So it's just the idea of just like, okay, back to your saying of them using their names outside of it, it's just the whole idea of keeping that persona alive and stuff, and it's like, that's
they should just start a brawl in the parking lot. They should be like, oh crap, bap.
Yeah. You think,
but I think that's what. I think it's funny though, because when you were talking about like how Sam just flipped the script at the very end, when I remember back old school 90s WWF, I feel like they had the script to a T. Like it was perfect. Out of nowhere, somebody just drives down or does something random, and I'm like, Vince McMahon's like, oh yeah, we need to change this real quick. Don't tell anybody. I want you to do this. Because that's what made it entertaining. Because like it was well enough, you got Stone Cold Steve Austin, you got The Rock going up against each other, you got Brock Lesnar, Goldberg going against each other on the same night. What would be the riff is like, all right, Sting's gonna bust up in there and proclaim himself to be the undisputed. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff that would happen, and you can look on their faces like, man, this wasn't part of the script, but all right, we'll roll with it because we are our characters, and we're gonna go with whatever you say. And I think that's what the perfect thing about wrestling is like the most spontaneous. So when it starts getting regurgitated and goes back and forth to a specific script, that's when you start losing people. And I think that Sam, as a character within the confines of this show, he understood that. Whether, it was like the start of it for them, kind of thing. And I think that was perfect for what I remember of old school wrestling, what it used to be.
What brought me back was again, watching the documentary. I hope they get to this in like season 2. It's stuff like, oh, she has her in her voodoo whammy and made her a zombie. And, like, I want that part of wrestling back. That cheesy, like, you know what I mean? Like, people are a voodoo doll. Stuff. Like,
I mean, there's a part of me that feels this show's probably going to legit have 4 seasons. Just the original Glow have 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So it would not shock me in the least if that's what ends up happening with this show. We get 4 seasons of seeing how it played out, because I think from what I remember, as the show progressed and stuff, they got new wrestlers.
Yeah.
And some wrestlers dipped, a lot of rotating wrestlers. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to probably happen after season 2, but it's going to be definitely interesting to see where these in show storylines go with some of these characters and what they did and stuff. So that's
especially because now with Sherry, right? You have her. She has this show that she just got booked on. You know, this is something she's always wanted, and the producer, the TV producer, was like, okay, so look, you can't do both because we can't have our fans or of the show turning on to the show and saying, oh wait, how is this cop here? Because I don't know, I don't understand if people, or back then where you can't, like you're watching TV and because someone is somewhere you can't unsee them from being that character. Because does anyone here watch Fargo and The Leftovers? No?
I'm kind of behind on Leftovers.
I need to watch Leftovers. I haven't started it yet.
All right, so what's her name? David Thoreau's wife on The Leftovers, not wife, his girlfriend, who's eventually probably going to marry, on The Leftovers right now. She's also doubling in Fargo, or doubling in season 3 of Fargo. So it's like, that can happen. You can unsee, you can separate, I can watch TV and separate the character, is what I'm saying. So I'm sure back then, something where the TV producers or the heads were like, nah, we don't want you, double dipping, stuff like that. But, what is she going to do next, when, moving forward? Like, what's going to happen with her character? Is she going to dip? Is she going to have, like, another, or is she going to be, like, super loyal to the, to Glow? Like, I want to see that, because to me, that was her last night wrestling. Did she even wrestle?
Yeah, she wrestled.
She did, right?
Yeah.
But she felt underappreciated. Like she wasn't she had a tag team match or something like that.
Yeah, she had a tag team.
No. She didn't wrestle that. She didn't wrestle in the last fight. In the last, in the hall. Like in the main hall on the TV.
And I think that's a good point. Is that it's really weird now. Like before, I guess because movies we didn't have all that access. Like these movie stars were bigger than life, and Luke Skywalker, no matter what. Al Bundy couldn't do anything else besides Married with Children for years because people kept, looking at him a certain way. And, or actors and movie actors wouldn't do television like now. But now, like, there's such, thin borders between these different mediums. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I just want to know what's going to happen with her character because, like I said, is it something where she's going to give up? Because again, this is, like you said, she felt underappreciated. She felt underused. So, and she probably felt underpaid because she was training and in charge of the girls and also had to wrestle. So, probably making just as much or maybe less.
Sam did promise her, like, hey, if this takes off, you're going to get a good chunk of the cut, essentially.
So, now
I wonder what the script's going and she's being offered, and I wonder if that's going to cause her some conflict, like or her role there or whatnot.
I mean,
she's the lead on the TV show. It's like I think it was like the way they pitched it to her is like a Starsky and Hutch type thing.
Yeah.
Even
like from the African American community, they're gonna put pressure on her. Like if you're like, all right, you're the lead of this, like why would you choose not to? Or even her family. Like, look, you have this opportunity. This is where you work towards. Why are you loyalty to them? Her
husband was like, "No, we gonna take that money. What's the gospel?"
Exactly.
Oh yeah. That's right. She did fight. She told her husband.
But there's so many. There's so many different dynamics to the show though, because the show itself was from '86 and it just stopped on '90. Like 1990, it just stopped, and so like I'm curious to see how there's gonna be a train wreck of events that are gonna happen, and I think they're gonna leave little blips here or there, like how it could end. But it's gonna be a good ride either way.
I think even the documentary just said it stopped. Like I didn't give a reason or documentary. Why?
I know you guys watched the documentary, right? Or someone is watching it. Okay, so I haven't watched it. I have a question. Like Sam said, did it just stop? And when they were doing the documentary, did it just end abruptly, or was it because WWF or a bigger company had decided, okay, we want female wrestlers now, and we want to integrate female wrestlers into our fold? And so Glow's corner of the market died down because of that, or stopped?
I mean, personally, I really don't know. I feel like to me, it had to be more of a business exchange. Like, all right, we're gonna absorb these people and absorb this market because now this is what's kind of hit. But I personally don't really know. There's no way for us to really know what ultimately happened. You can read the statistics, but
and the documentary didn't answer it.
It didn't go there.
It just said it just abruptly. It pretty much said it abruptly stopped. It was pulled from the air.
Yeah,
that was it.
It stopped, and that was about it. But like I said, some of the women, they moved on to other promotions.
And I think it said it still had the same ratings. Like it still had good ratings when it was pulled too. So I'm sure there was something behind the scenes that
they'll dramatify it.
No, but actually,
I'm pretty sure they will. I hope they answer it there and make it like dramatic as to make it as accurate as possible and not dramatic.
Actually,
on the
it just dawned on me. Actually, it was because of money. That's what it really came down to. It was just money, and the fact that like the way the business of it. Because like I said, this wasn't anything that was scandalous. It was just a simple case of just like money dried up and just the business model of how everything was going. It's just and also the distributor that they were dealing with and stuff. They were going through issues, money issues as well. So. Yeah, that's why it basically kind of just abruptly ended. So.
Yeah, I can see that, especially with them having troubles from the beginning. Like nobody had a real business plan.
Well, honestly. Also too, unlike WWE and WWF, they weren't traveling around because you also got to remember too, WWF they get their money traveling around to different arenas and things like that, and then selling out, charging people to come in there as paying your wrestlers. They're basically just in Vegas at one place. You had to fly to Vegas to go see them, and that was the only place to do it. So the thing of it is, when you lose your production studio that's showing it and stuff, well, where are you going to get money now? Oh, that's right, you're not traveling, so your money basically is done.
Oh.
So that's basically what it comes down to. And like I said, it's unfortunate, but, it is what it is, But like I said, it was a big deal, so. But yeah, man, this is definitely pretty good talking about this and stuff. Yeah, so I guess with that, Sam and Grosby, I want to plug your stuff in. People can contact you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I am on JVS. We do reviews, we do discussion, we do everything at this point because now we're going to start doing like small shorts. We're going to be doing a small web series, and I'm actually talking to this guy out pretty soon. Definitely going to San Diego Comic-Con in the next 2 weeks. That's going to be freaking dope. But if you want to check us out, go to youtube.com/SEL0320 or just go to YouTube and type in JVS. And we also got Twitter and Instagram. You'll be able to find it all up there.
Cool.
Yo, Mo Crosby from Earth 2 Comicast. I do this with my boy Vito D. We do reviews. We do show reviews. Like we just finished American Gods. We do comic reviews because our channel is Earth 2 Comicast. We were comic book based, so we do a lot of comic book based TV shows, movies on our reviews. But then we're trying to branch out to do a little more. Some people are asking for other things. So yeah, we do that. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Earth 2 Comicast. We have a podcast on SoundCloud, Earth 2 Comicast also. The name is pretty much uniform for everything. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays we drop videos. Thursday we drop our podcast. So, be on the lookout for that. Thank you for having me again.
Oh, it's no problem. It's no problem. Hopefully I can do that.
And I started a YouTube channel because I got tired of everybody has something to go to, and all
I know.
Probably at the bar.
Wait, really? You did?
No, I just did it after we saw Wonder Woman. There's only a couple of videos up now, but it's called Drunk Geek. It's just me driving, and when I drive, I talk about whatever movie or thing I saw the day before, the morning after type stuff.
Nice.
You need to add like an S on the end and invite Lucas with you.
Yeah, so I was thinking that me and Lucas talked about an idea that Sam's kind of prompting that hopefully we come to one of their channels soon. So.
The Drunken DMV Adventures. There you go.
Man. Hey, we would love to have you on Nerve too, to be honest, man. Like, you can come on anytime.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Hopefully, once I figure out D's little schedule, we can talk about American Gods because he's been chomping at the bit to talk about that show. He's like, dude,
I've been waiting for forever. Come on, man, let's do this.
I know. Once I hit up D, I'll see when his schedule is, and we can jump on that ASAP because I definitely want to talk about American Gods and all the shenanigans with that show and stuff. So,
I gotta catch up on that.
I think beautiful.
But yeah, folks, check out our YouTube channel. I just put up 2 panels from BlurredCon from this past weekend. One about creating a safe space for black girl gamers. It's actually really good. Check those ladies out. Also, another panel that we recorded, our boy Gary Peoples. He is a stunt person. He's one of the stunt guys. He's done a lot of shows. He did stunt work for Luke Cage, Jessica Jones. He's actually doing stunt work for Avengers Infinity Wars right now. He's doing stunt work for the Black Lightning TV show apparently now, since it's going to series. Because they actually just finished. He just finished the pilot for it, so I guess it's going to series now. So he's gonna be working on that. A lot of his other buddies, they've been on varying degrees of shows and things like that. They're based out of Atlanta, so they're involved with a lot of the Tyler Perry productions and the Marvel productions and things of that nature and stuff. One of the ladies in particular, she was actually part of the Fate and the Furious movie as well and stuff, alongside Gary. So very informative panel. You'll love it and stuff. They talk about a lot of things and stuff, including blackface in the stunt world and stuff. Yes, that happens. And also be on the lookout later for me and D. We're probably going to record our kind of like breakdown of BlurredCon and also audio recording of our panel that we had there as well. So, yeah, lots of content in July. I know we were basically kind of taking a break on our main podcast, so that's kind of us supplanting all this and stuff, including this episode as well. So, yeah, thanks guys for coming in and joining in on this, and we will catch you guys later. Peace out.
Thanks, guys. Peace.